day 1, I guess.
Yeah. Back in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Feeling pretty excited though.
Yeah, feeling really good about this.
Well,
Day 50, just trying to stockpile some wood.
yeah, for the next April snow.
Yeah. Stay tuned for my DIY episode on how to build the perfect fire.
It's still going good though, right?
Yeah, no, still feeling really good.
Good.
Day 100. We've been living here for, well, 100 days. It just keeps getting weirder. You know, we thought moving from Los Angeles to Wisconsin would be easy, nice. This house, this place, something's not right. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Day 323. I keep hearing noises. Weird noises. Like footsteps. Or voices. I guess it's just me though. I don't know what my problem is. I know something is going on, and I'm gonna try and find out what it is. So hopefully we'll see something tonight.
What I most about Takmayo, many has Takarm, and their future like and say because about
I wasn't making it up. It's this house. It's this place. It's making us into, I don't know. Look.
Setting up your mise en place is something that's extremely important in getting the dishes timing just so. I prefer a giant cutting board. Some prefer smaller cutting boards, but what I like is it's really up to the individual how they like to set the scene.
Oh my God. We gotta get out of here. This place is...
Something weird is going on. I knew it the whole time. Look. Hey, baby. What's going on in there? Hey. What you doing? Oh my god. Hey! Oh no. Oh no. No! No. No! Oh, okay. No.
I'm so embarrassed.
What I'm thinking is what is killing me. What you're thinking isn't even close to the same. My brain is stupid. My brain is running away. My brain is stupid. My skull has come undone. Now it's spilling. Now it's spilling. Now I'm spilling. Spilt on the floor.
We can't keep living like this.
Like what?
Like this. Turning every room into a set. Buying gear we don't understand. Creating meticulously researched small-scale content for absolutely no one.
But we gotta have a creative outlet, right? I mean, right?
I guess, but doesn't it weird you out at all that we keep starting YouTube videos involuntarily?
Oh, for sure. It's pretty disturbing, but I say we just go with it. You know, like, is it really a haunting if you're cool with it and befriend the ghosts? Like Casper.
Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
I do feel like I love this house after fixing it up. Despite it clearly being haunted.
So, I say we roll with it.
Okay. Well, what should we do first then?
Well, I don't know. I've been thinking about doing some music, movie, game reviews, maybe tech, but it's like, does anyone really need another opinion in the ocean of dumbass opinions these days?
What about a FromSoft video?
Oh yeah, there's definitely not enough of those out there.
True. I know because you've made me watch a few hundred of them.
I sincerely apologize for that.
I accept.
You know what would be funny though? If you made a FromSoft video.
Right.
I mean it.
It's a ridiculous idea.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
From Software was not something I ever expected to be waxing on. In truth, From Software games were not something I ever expected to be conscious of. In fact, if we built a time machine, traveled back to 2014, and showed 2014 me a list of all three of these things, love, running, and From Software, and asked me to guess a potential category uniting these disparate words, 2014 me's answer might have been something like, things you'll never catch me doing. It's not that I didn't grow up with video games. I had an NES and a Game Boy Color and an Xbox. I occasionally played games socially with some high school friends, which involved the usual 90s kids rotations, GoldenEye, Smash Bros, Rock Band. I even had a couple friends who played a lot of video games. I never had an in-depth conversation with any of them about it. Video games combined two of my least favorite things: difficulty and failure. Running is much the same story. I played many sports, and I played them pretty well up through the end of high school. And yet I hated running. Game time occasionally required me to turn on the speed, which I could do fairly easily and with moderate success when motivated. But beyond that, I did not want to run. I could deliver when I needed to. What good would more running do me? Running combined another two of my least favorite things: exertion and improvement. And love, well, I was privately obsessed with love, but the fictional kind, the kind where things could be scripted and plotted out, where dialogue could be pithy and subtext was always clear. In my fantasies, there was only me and my background and my worldview and my mindset. Only me and my flaws and my oddities. Only me and my polished versions of myself projected onto someone else's face. Real people were unpredictable and impenetrable, and it turned out I was less capable of communicating in real life than I was in my mind. By the time I was old enough to be interested in love, my circumstances had taught me to bury my private self away in the safety of fantasies, so I had no chance at ever being in love in real life. Love combined yet another two of my least favorite things: discomfort and vulnerability. But what does all this have to do with From Software? Now, as a disclaimer before we go on, don't get it twisted. I am not the From Software expert in this show. Far from it. There is a man here who made his own From Software t-shirt. A man who must have at least one FromSoft game going on at any given moment in time. A man who waits in jaded agony for the day they will finally, mercifully give the people what they really want, which is Bloodborne in 60 FPS. No, the FromSoft expert in this show is M. And it was M who introduced me to running, From Software, and love. There is one thing everyone talks about when they talk about FromSoft games: dying. Dying is the only thing people who've never played the games register as unique about FromSoft games. As the New Yorker put it, death is a feature of these games, not a bug. You are going to die a lot, to such an extent and under such dire circumstances that it is not an annoyance you can merely endure. You better find some way to learn to love dying. But most video games rely on some form of death as a central feature. After all, video games at their core are an experimental playground of learning. They are active entertainment. The point of video games is to fail, with stakes sometimes so high that the failure is dying, but with the guarantee of safety to your actual physical person. From Software is not unique in this respect. Even cozy games like Stardew Valley have forms of death consequences, literal and metaphorical. You can run out of health in the mines, simple. Or you can realize on the last day of fall that you need an eel for the community center, and you can only catch eels in the ocean between 4 p.m. and 2 a.m. when it's raining in spring and fall. And today it's sunny. So now you won't be able to catch one until spring rolls around again. There are consequences for your actions in video games, including dying. The beauty and the point of video games is that you get to try again with the information you've just learned. What I talk about when I talk about FromSoft games is everyone's second favorite D word: difficulty. Death in FromSoft games isn't just respawning at the last checkpoint and starting over. It is a karmic sentencing. Often what you have just done is a grueling journey through a nightmare area filled with hostile enemies ending in a David v. Goliath 1v1 boss fight. And now you must do it again. The repetition is difficult because the original task is difficult. Areas are complex. Routes through them are labyrinthine. Enemies are grueling. The bosses are crazy OP, though they all have their weak spots. Each portion of the journey requires many rounds of dying to even know what the fuck is going on. You must first learn what you have to do, which takes time and focus and dying. Then you must calculate a best way to do it, which also takes time and focus and dying. And then as the product of that time, focus, analysis, sheer persistence, and all that fucking dying you did, You must at some point simply just do it successfully so that you can move on to the next death gauntlet and start the process all over again. The extreme difficulty of FromSoft games was very daunting to me. I was not used to having to try so hard or fail so many times. See, from an early age, people told me how smart I was. And they weren't wrong. The proteins that arranged themselves into my DNA happened to come with a high intelligence quotient, at least as determined and measurable by Western humans. People told me I was smart and capable and mature, which ultimately meant that adults mostly left me alone, sure I would figure it out on my own. Because I was capable of putting in low to no effort to achieve better than average results in most things I tried, I missed out on developing a crucial skill. I missed out on learning how to learn. Learning became a zero-sum game to me. Either I tried something and could do it pretty immediately with relative success and with little assistance, or I tried it and failed, and the skill or subject in question was filed under things I do not do. If you only know success and failure, you not only miss out on the enormous gradient of experience that connects them, but you do not learn how to get from failure to success. FromSoft is one extreme of some weird spectrum where it is diametrically opposed to running. Running is also repetitive. Running is also enduring and persisting. Running is a matter of resilience, the ability to pick yourself up and keep going despite any number of contextual factors that make it harder to do so. Weather, distance, energy, mental fortitude. When I met M for the first time, he was born to run pilled and introduced me to barefoot shoes and their connection to ancient human design, as well as the simple and oft-repeated idea that first started to change the way I thought about running. Running is actually simple. All you need are shoes, and you can run almost anywhere. I still wasn't sold. I was living in Brooklyn at the time and walked almost everywhere, and that was enough for me. But a year later, when I moved out to Los Angeles, where no one walks anywhere, I needed something to keep my body moving. M had wormed the idea of running into my brain, but I am a contrarian asshole, so I was still not sold on the idea, and I refused to read Born to Run because I read a lot, and I wanted M to take one of my book recommendations first. So when I found out that one of my favorite authors, Haruki Murakami, had written a nonfiction book entitled What I Talk About When I Talk About Running, I decided to let him convince me to run, and he did. How Murakami convinced me to start running was also extremely simple. He told me I didn't have to run faster than anybody else, and I didn't have to be good at or even that serious about running. All I had to do to run was run. I am a notorious overthinker, so while it seems insultingly simple to admit, what Murakami gave me was permission not to overthink, and permission to fail or be mediocre. The only thing I had to do was do it. No more, no less. No competition, no failure, little difficulty. So I bought my first pair of barefoot running shoes and dove in. I started running, outside, easy-paced. Running was not the hard part. Running is a simple, repetitive motion. This is what makes it diametrically opposed to Soulsborne's. The task is easy. The hard parts of running were, 1, actually sticking to it, and 2, facing down all the feelings that running brought up. In order to learn how to run, I had to learn how to negotiate with my mind, to keep it focused, to keep the terror out of it, to lean into a simple task as a way of quieting my loud and overpowering internal monologue. I had to learn how to assess the personal components that must align to make running possible. Body, mind, anima. I had to learn how to push past disappointing myself, how to attend to tiny details that made the large thing possible. I had to learn how to work with the circumstances I was given, no matter how out of my control they were. And I was able to learn all of this by just showing up and running, time after time, week after week, month after month, year after year. This September, I will have been running for 10 years. Not perfectly, not extraordinarily, but consistently, and with lots to show for it. Complexity is merely the sum of an equation. End results, answers on their own, often look simple because they are. They are icebergs, and what we see is such a small fraction of what's been built up to get there. Running is undeniably simple and quietly complex, and From Software is undeniably difficult and quietly simple. But love, quiet, simple, complex, undeniable love, is what got me into both of them. I've spent most of my life feeling lonely. It's apparent in all the journals I've had since I was 15. I've had friends, and a very select few of them have become my chosen family, but I have always felt a pretty wide gap between me and most other people I meet. I don't seem to be driven by the same things as them. I don't seem to respond to the same things as them. Most of the time, I don't even seem to like the same things as them. And I never felt very comfortable around most of them. Things never felt easy right off the bat. It was the first thing that struck me when I met M. Within days of meeting him, I felt inexplicably at ease. Felt an immediate, but quiet and simple and deep connection to him that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. Pages and pages in my journal from that time spent talking about how bizarre this connection was, and how I was probably making it up. Of course, I know the ending now, how simple it really was. We were falling in love, or were somehow already in love. But that didn't mean it was easy, and that didn't mean the equation was already solved. Complexity has to be combated with understanding. To be understood, the answer must be broken down into its parts. And we spent a lot of time breaking this thing down into parts. First artistically, then as a friendship, and finally as something more. My fantasies about love were never fantastical. I didn't fantasize about weddings or babies or dramatic declarations of passion and undying fervor. I was obsessed with the mechanics of love, with the mundanity of it, how it was supposed to be a bedrock you built your life on, the framework of your days. My fantasy was that someday someone could know me, not just answer me sitting high and simple above the waves, but iceberg me, my full, messy, repetitive, mundane, complicated equation. That they could truly know me and still love me. Love me in spite of knowing me. Love me because they knew me. That they could know me that intimately and still want to spend all their time with me, doing nothing but living, doing nothing but all the things you have to do in a day. And that I could do the same, and that our mundane lives would be enriched by the other's presence. My first encounter with FromSoft was as audience to M's first encounter with his other true love, Bloodborne. I spent significant time watching him play right when our relationship was also developing seriously. If there's one thing about M, which you will come to know, he processes things out loud and is also a great teacher. So watching him play was less passive than it might have been watching someone else. More than just bearing witness to the trials and tribulations of a Soulsborne, I was also receiving a crash course in how to think about and through these games. I never understood why people were obsessed with running, or with video games, or with love, at least the way I saw most people doing it. But the love I had for M, and the love he showed to me, convinced me to try. Love is a great motivator. And it doesn't have to be romantic, and it doesn't even have to be directed at a person. Love is interest. Love is curiosity. Love is being open to learning how to understand something outside of yourself, and by doing so, coming to understand infinite things inside yourself. This is life, and how we experience time, as a repetition in service of meaning. Every day we respawn at some bonfire and have to make our way in this world all over again. Failure is the beginning of learning to try again. Sometimes the game is easy. Oftentimes it is hard. There are so many things that you will be cut off from if you are not capable of learning. You shrink yourself every time you shy away from difficulty, because when things get hard, you have to learn. And every time you show up to learn something, you expand what you know to be possible, mainly within yourself. Learning will kill many things you thought you knew, but not learning will kill you faster. A decade later, I still, even now, having finished 3 Soulsborne games myself and currently playing another, I don't always understand why some people seem to relish in putting themselves through the heart-thumping, hair-tearing, mind-numbing stress that is FromSoft. But what I talk about when I talk about FromSoft, or when I talk about running, or when I talk about love, is learning to love learning, especially when it kills you.
It's great.
Ugh, I hate it.
Of course you do. Oh, you missed an item behind that wall.
Let me find it.
Sorry. I'm not sure how I can contribute to this piece, though. It kind of stands alone as is.
I could rewrite or cut.
Absolutely not. No, it's just... I'm not sure what to add to it. I mean, I definitely have plenty to say about FromSoft, and running, and love, and Murakami.
Oh, boo.
It's just...
One-shotted!
You gotta watch the attack animations first. You haven't even seen this enemy
I got it.
Right.
I don't know. It seems a little weird for you to have nothing to contribute to this part. I thought we were both going to try to contribute to every segment.
I know, but...
How about this? What do you talk about when you talk about FromSoft?
It was February. I was cold and I was high. He wanted love. He wanted soul. It's not enough to make him whole. It was February. I was cold and I was high. It's raining glass like a fever storm. Every promise I have sworn tonight. It was February. I was cold and I was. Are you ready for the storm? Are you ready for? Are you ready for the storm? Are you ready for the storm? Are you ready for? Are you ready for the storm?
So, are you going to answer my question?
Addiction, redemption, rehabilitation, self-hatred, self-pity, hopelessness. The glint of sunlight broken up by the bare trees and amplified by the snow-covered ground like a solar panel. The cave of thought, the cave of thought, heavy, dry, and loud with the howling wind through the uncovered maw.
That's what you talk about when you talk about FromSoft?
No, I don't talk about From Software. No, that was about IDLES album, Crawler. We should talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Welcome to
MUZAK SLUTZ,
where we talk about music and specifically an album that is neither new nor particularly relevant. It's just something that we like, and we're going to tell you why, right?
Yep.
The way we're going to kind of break this down is we're going to talk a little bit about our experience with it, just kind of like personal experience with the album. And we're going to talk a little bit about the sort of, musicality, like how the album is sort of made based on what we know about it and understand about it. And then we'll kind of wrap it up in our own special way. The first album that we're going to talk about is IDLES' Crawler. We appreciate a lot of different types of music. And this just was, when we started making the show, one of the albums that was playing in the house a fair amount.
Yeah.
Kind of coming out of, I guess we could start there. When did we start? How did we hear about this? When did that happen?
So we stumbled upon the album Crawler by IDLES through the delightful series From the Basement, which if you haven't checked out From the Basement, check out From the Basement. It's rad. But
I'll put some links in there. It's wonderful
love
as a show.
From the Basement. Yeah, we love it because we both like live music a lot. That was something we connected about originally. Love live music.
And also From the Basement does that thing where it sort of gives you an indication of what an artist's process is like, because you're seeing them in kind of a, I wouldn't say stripped down, but you see, they're doing like a recording set.
Yeah.
We saw From the Basement.
It popped up on From the Basement, and From the Basement was enough of a yes for us to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think specifically for this album, that introduction is really perfect.
Coming to an artist, especially a musician, through something live, where they're not being aided by a lot, gives you a much more like raw, immediate version of what you're gonna get on albums.
Well, it's what we both love about music, is that ability to use a medium. My favorite music is music that feels like a pretty direct expression of an impulse.
Yeah.
So there is always that live quality about music that I end up loving.
Is there anything like contextually about the album, like experience-wise, that you can kind of pinpoint?
I think this popped up at such a specific time in my life / our life where there's shit we have to do right now. This is also sort of adulthood. We're doing shit, and it's not always pleasant or happy.
Yeah.
A lot of it distinctly isn't pleasant or happy. So the leftover feelings of sort of like, having to move through stuff you kind of don't want to move through. For me personally, I'm not like a super, I don't know if you know this about me, I'm not like a super sunny, peppy kind of person, but I need to be motivated. Now that I've said it, right, put it into words. But I want to be motivated to do things. I want to get things done if I have to do them. So I think the reason why I immediately latched onto it was just because it feels very true to this phase of my life, of sort of like being an adult with a list of responsibilities, but still wanting to have a good time and laugh a little bit and like do the hard shit without letting it get me down. What about for you, though?
Yeah, I think obviously shared life, so
we talk about our lives as though we have separate lives.
Right. In my life, we contextually we kind of had to suddenly move for me back to Wisconsin because of kind of a family tragedy situation, and so it was sort of a period rife with a lot of change, which can be really good.
Yeah.
And then a lot of responsibilities that are always just intrinsically difficult, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the reviews from like Pitchfork or something like this, and sorry if you're the reviewer and watching this, yeah, right. But if that did happen, you know, they mentioned something about it being kind of like, there's like a tone of like it was cheesy or something like that. I don't think it's cheesy at all. I think it's a little bit, yeah, it's more the mundanity of like moving forward and still having a little bit of life left in you, even if things are hard. Especially the opening song track, which I really love, was sort of something about the lead singer's struggling with addiction, which I think the music reviewer was like, just another addict, you know, like talking about getting through it or whatever. And I understand the sort of like
12-steppy
yeah,
kind of stuff.
but I actually didn't feel that way, and I think what I got experientially from it is that like this, that little bit of spunk and energy that you retain even when you're kind of beat to hell.
Yeah.
And how that feels like such a good microcosm of like adulthood in general, is that the good times are good and you learn to enjoy those more, but maybe you also sort of learn to smile at the really nasty stuff.
Smile, make a joke, think about a bigger picture, anything sort of to get through the thing that you don't want to like sit in.
Yeah.
You know, you
don't want to sit in it.
You want to be on the other
Yeah, it's
side
not like
of it.
it's not like the album doesn't like lay back and be
No.
like, oh, it was so hard for me. It's more like fuck this noise. Like let's
Yeah.
try to like
Yeah.
do something. What does this album do for you? I mean, what do you think about when you kind of have the lived experience with listening to this album?
Yeah, that was something that struck me immediately when we watched the From the Basement and carried through to listening to the full record. I do find it to be a really kinetic, like a darkly kinetic album, which is right up my alley. Mm-hmm. The first thing that stuck out to me is the like driving tempo. I think it's a great driving album. I think it's a great album for when you want to get shit done. It's a great album for when you're like in motion, but not dancing necessarily.
Yeah, I think that I really appreciate an album that you can just sit down and listen to. But the other kind of album that I really like is one that, especially for someone who's so reluctant to dance in front of people or something like that, not because I can't, but just because I'm very
uncomfortable.
I won't. But some albums just like you can't help
Yeah.
moving, and this is definitely one of those albums. It's got some punk roots, obviously,
For sure.
which I think you would hope that it would feel kind of kinetic, but that's not always true. And so I think that I agree with you.
If I had to describe what this like album is, I would really call it like a musical chimera, because it definitely is punk. Like it's got that hard punk, like fun punk edge to it, but it's so melodic, and there's so much sort of like the melodies are really beautiful and sort of melancholy, and then there's so much of a drive, almost like a more of a percussive drive than you get in punk music that lends it that little bit of like dance.
Right.
You want to get up and punch to it or kick to it or head
Tybo
like bob to it. Yeah.
That really dates.
Yeah,
me, I
you.
think. Tybo.
But the darkness really comes through in a lot of the musical elements too, but it's so counterbalanced with so many other things that it becomes a really rich album, I think.
There are moments that are stripped back enough, which I really like. So it's dense in its mix of things, but not in the overall volume of instruments. So it's a little bit, it has space in it, which I really, I need that a lot of the times to put myself in things, I need a little bit of space. And this album has some nice, voids in it. Like you don't want an overproduced punk album,
Definitely
like I don't. I think musically what I really like about this album too is that, I guess I'll piggyback on myself talking about the empty space as I am wont to do. I'll just pick, Matthew, I'll pick you back on you. Oh, great. That's a great idea. I would love it if you did. I have a lot to say. In regards to the sort of sparsity of the album, I think certain instruments like driving drums and sort of like distorted, fuzzy guitars and rhythmic guitars, if they're layered too much, you like lose the like smack of the drums and the reverb of the room.
It turns more into a wave of sound.
Yeah, and so I think that space in this album makes the vocal performance really come out, and the drums and the sort of rhythmic elements of it come out, which I think is where like the makes you want to move with it. And so I guess the other thing I would highlight about it musically is I think the vocal performance is pretty special, and what I mean by that is everything doesn't have to sound beautiful to be a great vocal performance, right? It really has to do with the intent of the piece itself, right? So in this case, I think he's technically quite skillful. He's one of those lead singers that I envy.
Deceptively harder things than you think he's doing.
Yeah, he's doing nuanced things that not
yeah.
everyone could do. And he also has that gift that I'm wildly jealous of, where he can just like sound, gravelly voice, and maybe he blows out his voice all the time, but it sounds really great and he has a ton of character in his voice. I think more important, sometimes singers, especially in recordings, because they're being overproduced or whatever and told to do something a certain way, they lose that like immediacy that I love so much with music, where they feel more like a conduit of something happen, or their voice is another instrument in the mix rather than somebody being indicative of what they're trying to say to you. They're just doing that thing.
He is such a conduit. Like, he is one of those musical artists I'm always so jealous of, who it feels like he flips a switch and is in like direct connection with some ancient human impulse to just scream, you know? I want to ask what your favorite, if you had to isolate a favorite musical element of this album, what would it be for you?
When I think about the album, I'm thinking about how his voice and the drums work together. The vocals match the kinetic energy of the drums.
Yeah, the fucking drums on this
you love the
album.
Drums.
They slap so hard, and I loved
good.
Getting to watch that drummer
he's
live first because he looks like exactly what he sounds like. Like he's banging on those drums, and they're so in your face. And I love the sparseness of the album that you talked about in connection with how fucking hard the drums hit, because that is what makes it feel like getting punched in the face with this album.
There's like an immediacy to the album that's not, I don't know, I don't find it on a lot of albums, and they're usually some of my favorites.
Yeah, all art is about perspective, so I really love when you feel like you've just found such a specific, unique perspective.
So the way we're gonna wrap this up is we're not. There's no thumbs up, thumbs down.
Nope.
Everything we review is gonna be thumbs up in some way
like
or
it all.
another.
Yeah.
We like it.
We're only
not
gonna talk about
share
it if
with
we
you
like
shitty
it.
albums.
Yep.
Why would we do that? So there's no rating or anything like that. Contextually, who might like this album, right? So for us, since we have lots of people inside of each of us, but you know, in whatever way you choose to take that.
Yeah.
You know, what part of us sort of loves this album. Yeah. And I feel like I've got like two parts of me, but do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Sure. I would say I've got like three distinct parts of me that sort of combine to make the corner of myself that
who's
this album
like sitting
speaks
down
to.
listening to this
Yeah,
album. Yeah,
and it's a weird combo.
Okay.
Aggro, emo, corpo.
Angry, emo, corpo, you. Okay. Hard to follow. I didn't label mine so succinctly. No, I'm just kidding. The beat poet, varsity football playing old man.
Of you loves
of
this
me.
album. Yeah. Have you listened to IDLES, Crawler?
Yeah, tell us
in the
about comments. We want to know how you feel about it, if you've listened to it. If you listen to it after seeing this, definitely want to hear your impressions.
For sure.
If you hate it, I really want to hear your impressions. Yeah. And if you're like, I don't care about what you have to say and I won't listen to it, then don't comment. Even though the algorithm says do comment,
We're
I don't
saying
care.
don't.
Have something to say.
Yeah.
Experience something first before you go mouthing off about it. There'll be hopefully affiliate links so you can buy it. I don't know how to. We don't know how to do anything on YouTube, so I think that might be something that's in there.
Maybe there's an affiliate link down there. Maybe there's.
Check it out. You should check out the links we decided to put in there because we don't even know what they are right now.
We don't know. That's for future us to decide.
That's for future us to decide.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
On
MUZAK SLUTZ.
What'd you get?
I don't know, some games or DVDs or something.
I thought you stopped buying games and DVDs.
And I thought we stopped streaming services for games and movies.
Right, but isn't that what the NAS is for?
So what you do is you put literally all the files in it, and they all go on these hard drives.
Well, yes, but it's also vital that we have physical copies for archival purposes.
Is it?
No. But aren't they lovely?
So they're decorations.
Well, yeah. But also you can play them.
Right, but you don't play them.
But I could.
But you don't. And I thought that's what the MiSTer was for. Isn't that what we've been playing?
Yeah, it's fucking incredible, right?
It's fun.
Incredibly fun.
I'm gonna go back upstairs. We should probably stop buying physical media.
And let them win? Let them take away all of our memories? Our experiences, the tangible artifacts of our youth? How will we ever know if the things that we once felt, knew, and touched are even real if we cannot hold them in our hands once again? These companies that are not people own the people's voices, their art? No, I refuse. I will build a museum to myself so that I know that I once did exist and will continue to exist. Even in the face of a dystopian society built within a simulation and flux through a trans-dimensional thread of time-space. What is this house doing to me? I mean, they're cool, right? I love the box art so hard. Going to a video rental store and choosing what to play without the benefit or detriment of a YouTube reviewer telling you what's what. All you had to guide you was a cardboard box. I mean, I love all this shit. I'm a 90s teen, an 80s baby. But, yeah, maybe I've gone too far. I can't own everything, can I? Hell, I probably won't even want any of this stuff when I'm an old man. Will anyone want it then? It's hard to say. Oh, I can hear some of you. What's more important, playing the games or putting them up on a shelf? Playing them, obviously. But from a preservation standpoint, keeping the movies, television shows, and games that hard-coded our minds into the mushy gray they are now from being lost to companies that own the rights to the artist's work with no intention of making them available? I mean, I don't know how important it is in the grand scheme of things, but I still have a lot of affection for those experiences. A lot of us do. Now, to focus specifically on retro gaming, a subject that YouTube simply has not covered nearly enough, many will say you can still play the games, and playing them on original hardware is the only pure way. Others will say PC emulation is amazing now, so just buy a hard drive on Amazon with all the ROMs already configured in Hyperspin or something. And some will be like, What words are you even saying, you fucking nerd fuckface? Point is, all viewpoints are valid when discussing our hobbies, because in the end, we'd all survive without any of the toys from our youth. But there is value in it, in whatever way you can afford it. It's okay to emulate everything on a cheap Raspberry Pi on a laggy LCD monitor like a basic bitch. Just like it's okay to be a snotty dick and play on a multi-format BVM with RGB modded consoles and cartridges that cost $1,000 each. Gamers usually come together on the important stuff. For me, the value comes from revisiting the medium that informed all of my successive creative work for the rest of my life, often without even knowing it. I still feel inspired by the pixel art and music from 16-bit video games. So much artistic expression with such limitation. I still get a big dumb grin on my face when I fire up that original PlayStation BIOS screen on a CRT. Because for me personally, it reminds me of a once private aspect to my person. Gaming still isn't respected equally alongside other art forms, but in the 80s and the 90s, it could get you punched. So in many ways, I often hid my fascination with all things gaming. I didn't really talk to anyone about how much I appreciated the genre-bending narratives of Chrono Trigger or the surprising character development of Red 13 and Cosmo Canyon, or what it meant to me as a kid to finish The Legend of Zelda with only the help of an instruction booklet and a map. I would occasionally run across a kid and become friends just so that we could discuss games, but I was a deeply introverted only child that was terrified to open up to anyone in any significant way, so most of my gaming experience was by and large private. But now I am an adult. Somehow I found a partner that has been patient enough to allow me to wax on and on about all things gaming. She's even started to play many of the games I love, which I cannot even express the joy I feel sharing an entire lifetime of private thoughts locked behind a door with someone else after so much time. So I guess the sharing is as important to me as the games themselves. Sharing the art that informed so much of my aesthetic identity. The exposure to a non-Western culture that drove me towards a wide range of artistic appreciation that belied my small-town Midwestern upbringing. The sharing of those impulses and memories has become a shot of vitality as my body slowly degrades. So what? I guess I'm talking about value. Value can be emotional, monetary, time. It's wildly subjective and individual. So since I'm well aware we will all prescribe different values to different ways of exploring retro tech, and in this case, retro gaming, I want to focus on one particular path that has provided the best value for money for me personally over my last decade of rekindling my love for vintage gaming. The MiSTer FPGA. All right, let's take a breath here. Now we've got to seamlessly transition between the philosophical and practical. What is the MiSTer FPGA? There are so many amazing content creators that can answer that question with incredible depth, love, and appreciation, better than I can. But before I turn you on to my life in gaming's 2-hour deep dive into the MiSTer, I should start with a consoleized summary for those new to the idea. The MiSTer is a combination of an FPGA board, I'll get to that, and an open source code environment created by an incredibly dedicated community of programmers that are driven to preserve old games with far more care than the companies that now own those games' rights. In other words, some beautiful geeks figured out a way to get a certain kind of computer board called an FPGA that specializes in altering its own binary pathways to copy the processors of gaming computers from the past. These cores or instruction sets tell the FPGA to emulate the behavior of old gaming consoles and can often result in near perfect gameplay accuracy. Your old Nintendo games just like you remember, except better than that, because the cores often come with some extremely useful modern conveniences like being able to play nearly lag-free old-school gaming on a modern display You can't do that with your old Nintendo. Or use save states, because let's be honest, you never beat Mega Man 2. Or you can tinker with usually hidden aspects of the rendering process for hardcore nerds. Blah, 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 blah. So what? What does all this mean? Well, let me show you. If you want to play older games, think 80s, 90s systems like Nintendo, Genesis, all the way up to PlayStation. Or you want to experience systems that hardly anyone owned but are amazing. Neo Geo, Sega Saturn. You've got 3 basic options. 1, own functional original hardware and software, own the TVs you can hook them up to, or a scaler, we'll talk about that some other time, and have a dedicated space for all that stuff. Or you can get a PC with a bunch of software emulators, programs, apps that emulate the old systems and have the knowledge to put it all together in a functional way. Or you can use the MiSTer. Trust me when I say that you can find very compelling arguments for why one approach is better than the other. So I won't go into great depth here, but I will say this. PC emulation is flexible, scalable, can be beautiful, and even provide major upside like improving old systems' rendering capabilities. Original hardware is a delight in its own right. I mean, hard nostalgia putting in a cartridge, dealing with the same flaws you remember, and probably playing on a CRT with all that tube bloom warmth you remember. And the MiSTer, well, it sort of falls in between in a really unique and exciting way. In essence, the MiSTer is function over form. Its primary purpose is to load all your ROMs, game files obtained totally legally from your own original games and not from the internet or hard drives on Amazon, onto a little micro SD card and then boot them up on your contemporary LCD via HDMI, or your OLED, or a consumer CRT with a cheap cable, or a VGA monitor, or a professional video monitor, or, well, you get my point, it's flexible. The MiSTer is basically like having a wall of old consoles that often fail in one way or another just due to their age, to run a library of games exactly like they used to, hooked up to any viewing source you want. I mean, there are admittedly a lot of ways to get a similar result, but as a person that genuinely values the prospect of enjoying artistic work in a way that really highlights the work itself, the MiSTer starts at an 8 and can be pushed to a 10. Plug in a good USB controller and hook it up to whatever TV you have now, 8 out of 10. Most people would enjoy this, it's pretty stellar. Get a direct USB dongle for your original controllers and attach the MiSTer to a CRT, or even better, a PVM, 10 out of 10. Use the optical audio out and hook it up to a stereo? Come on. You want to see Chrono Trigger with sharp-ass pixels, fluid animation, all while hearing Nobuo Uematsu's sick chiptunes filling the room with clarity and soundstage? The MiSTer delivers. Hard. All in all, it's a dream to boot up something with such a boring functional list of systems and games, tinker until you have everything set up basically the way you want, then experience a library of gaming that influenced almost everything we enjoy today. Now, I respect a person that prefers original hardware. In point of fact, I have refound the joys of putting in a disc to watch a movie because of the deliberate physical act of firing it up, rather than experiencing the choice paralysis of streaming services. Playing games on original hardware, despite the challenges of upkeep and hooking them up to modern TVs, is really fun, genuinely. But it's not for everyone. Budget alone can make this a non-starter for some. And in terms of emulation, I had a blast putting together my launch box front end for my library of ROMs. It works great, it's part of my gaming PC, and it's all hooked up to our main OLED TV in our den, so we can just play anything anytime we want on a big, beautiful TV. I know I must seem spoiled, but I grew up with very little, and I am not having children, so now I spend almost all my discretionary income on this nonsense. So I guess I'm just trying to justify my own guilt for sharing my embarrassment of riches with anyone who can't currently pick and choose what they get to indulge in. But trust when I say, I remember what that's like. So just know that I am so goddamn grateful for what I get to share with you today. And I hope my appreciation comes through because, again, it's the sharing of the things that we love that matters. Anyway, what I'm driving at is this. I'm the asshole who's tried almost everything. I'm compulsive that way. Oh, I'm thinking of playing old games again, he said 5 years ago. Fast forward to learning about every possible avenue, including the cost-benefit analyses, until there's literally nothing left to do but to come back from the wilderness with a report. And so, my report is this. I use the MiSTer more than anything else for retro gaming. The mix of convenience, quality, and flexibility is just dope as hell for anyone that wants to ogle some incredible pixel art and animation from a period where some of the most innovative artists in the world were making games while everyone refused to take them seriously. I just want to make it clear that all the links you need are in the description. Links to other YouTube videos that show you how to put it all together, granular explanations of what you can and can't do with the technology, some fun listicles to get you to find some great old games you may have or never have played, and finally some affiliate links to purchase some of the pieces you need to get going. Now, let's get Kay in here to impart some harsh, impartial deetsies on her experience with the MiSTer FPGA. Some deetsies? Can I get? All right, come on. Let's get some deetsies on the MiSTer. Come on. Oh, come on. Come on. I mean, do you have any thoughts about the MiSTer? No? I don't really know how to end this if you don't. Do you like it? I mean, if you had hands, would you like it? Well, now you're stressed out. I don't want to stress you out. I just want someone to share something about the MiSTer. What do you think about this? He likes Tombs and Treasure, though. So that's good. Alright. Thanks, Nugget. We appreciate it. Thanks for your thoughts on the MiSTer. You're a good fucking nugget. You're a good fucking nugget. You're a fucking nugget, and you're a good one. Oh god, I'm gonna fucking rip your face off. I'm gonna rip your face off.
Stop.
Jeez,
Cut the
enough.
sirens.
Stop it. Stop.
Jeez.
Please stop.
Hello. Thank you.
Oh my goodness gracious. That is the wrong vibe. This is not an emergency.
Wrong tone.
It's a divergency.
Yes.
And it's not
An
an emergency
when you have a divergency.
of thinking or whatnot. Okay?
We should have thought about
we
the
should have thought about the
911
vibe, yeah.
thing.
All right, for next time. What did you learn today on divergency? Number 1.
Live, laugh, love? More like die, run, love.
Yes.
What else?
Sometimes you just need drums that
That
fucking
slap.
bro.
Right, Nugget?
Mm-hmm.
What's the last thing that they learned?
MiSTer FPGA? That's my father.
I'm Doug.
What did we learn
What did we
this
learn
this year on divergency?
this lifetime on divergency?
Yeah.
We learned that our house is haunted, but in a fun way.
Yeah. In a very fun way.
Yep.
We learned that these sleeves are far too puffy.
I think they're just the right amount of puff, but I guess we learned that.
And finally, we learned that
There's one real star of the show. And it's Nugget.
that's Nugget. And he's such a diva.
He's bona fide. What are you?
Little bitch.
You wouldn't believe this guy's writer, okay?
Yeah. Go back to your trailer.
So what did we actually learn?
Yeah.
One big thing that I just keep learning, can't seem to fully learn it, have to keep relearning it, is just to try and take myself and what I'm doing a little less seriously. Because when I can have fun and just, dig around, fuck around and find out, as they say, but in a fun way, I have a good time. And when I take myself too seriously, I have a bad time. So
we could all learn to take ourselves
yeah.
less seriously. Point at yourself.
Yeah. Everybody point at yourself.
Everybody point at their
Take
Nugget,
yourself
point
less
at yourself.
seriously. Take yourself less seriously.
Point at yourself, Nugget. He can't really point.
No.
It's difficult for him, but he would if he could. I've been thinking a lot about expectations while we've been working on it. Expectations we have of ourselves, expectations we have of how content should be, how art should be, what the algorithm wants, what the culture wants, what everybody wants from each other. And I just think the expectations are part of the issue we all have, because I think that the reason we wanted to do this is because we wanted to communicate with other people, share something, make something for our friends, for our prospective friends, something that we would enjoy someone communicating to us.
Yeah.
So on that note, please, first of all, thank you for watching all the way to this point, if you have. And please support us if you want to see. Obviously, you know how it works. If you want to see more of this
thing,
all this work that we put in, do all this stuff.
Like, subscribe, turn the bell on or whatever that thing is. Leave a comment. Send it to somebody that you like. Send it to somebody that you hate.
Make them comment.
Make
on
them
it.
comment.
Get in a fight about it. Join us on Patreon.
Link below.
Because we're gonna have extra stuff. You can join our Discord.
Yep.
You can hang out, because that's what this is kind of about.
Yeah.
Hanging out, making stuff.
We're trying to find people to hang out with.
Yeah.
In the internet.
In the internet space.
For no reason at all. I think you probably want to watch this video to the end of the video. Not for algorithm reasons. This has nothing to do with the algorithm. This is actually due to one of our favorite parts that is only after this. So hang out until the video ends.
You might want to see the end.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
On Divergency.
On Divergency. Bye, Nugget.
Bye, Nugget.
Bye. What you doing?
The dishes? Why are you filming me?
Whoa. Don't garden state yourself.
I'm not going to garden state myself.